This is the Literacy Mindset Podcast, where education leaders discuss identifying and removing phonological barriers with Mindplay's CEO, Jeff Pendleton.
Okay, everyone, welcome back. I'm excited to have my guest today, Dr. Bobbi Gillham from Pansy Kidd Middle School in Poteau Public Schools. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, really excited. We're kind of kicking off a series of talking to principals across the state of Oklahoma. As you know, we've partnered with so many districts, and we're thinking about all the ways that we can work on literacy across the state. So maybe just give us a quick intro into you and your role at Pansy Kidd.
I am the principal at Pansy Kidd, and we are a 5th and 6th grade center.
Okay.
And this is my 27th. I'm about to start my 27th year in Poteau, and I have had lots of roles in the district, and so far this is my favorite one. I started out as a 6th grade English teacher at Pansy Kidd.
Wow.
And then I went to the primary school, and I was the librarian there. And loved it, and loved getting to share, my favorite children's books with all of those sweet little ones. And that was a really, really exciting opportunity. From there, I went into actually, I also taught art for 3 years at Pansy Kidd before I went to the library. And then I was the assistant principal at the upper elementary school. And while I was there, and this was a long time ago, we started an intervention program in our elementary schools.
Okay.
And so I got to be part of creating that support system for our upper elementary students while I was there as the assistant. And that's where I kind of fell in love with data, if it's possible to fall in love with data, and really looking at what the evidence was of how our kids are performing and how we could use that to help make really good decisions about the programs that we were implementing and the strategies that we were using, and what was showing evidence of growth for our kiddos and what wasn't, so that we could really look at trying to leverage the resources which we have, which as a rural school, can be very limited, and where we being really good stewards of those things and using them to our kids' best advantage. From there, I went to the district level, and I worked in curriculum and professional development, and had a really great opportunity to look at the way training having really good training can impact our teachers' ability to deliver really great instruction. And then also looking at having the best possible curriculum and resources for our teachers. So making sure that we don't have barriers to them being able to instruct kids in the best possible way. And that gave me a really good overview of how different programs and strategies that we have across our district help our kids ultimately to be successful learners at the high school level, and then segue into college and career. And I think that experience is taking that. And when I had an opportunity to come back to a site level and start a new site, because our middle school previously had been 6th, 7th, and 8th, and we built a new building that became a 7th and 8th grade center. So our middle school became just 5th and 6th. And I had the opportunity to come back here, and it's been the most fun and the most rewarding of my career. And it may be because I'm toward the end of my career and I'm, kind of savoring all of it. But I have really enjoyed being able to take all of those different experiences and try to utilize those to make me the best possible leader for our teachers and really give them the tools and encouragement that they need to be truly exceptional teachers in our classrooms here.
That's awesome. All right. Well, I'm really excited to dive into a couple of the details on that and talk about that. But let's start. It's kind of interesting as you talk about the evolution or the roles that you've been in over the last 30 years. You've seen what were arguably the fun times in literacy, right? Science of reading becomes structured literacy versus balanced literacy becomes like, oh, hey, science of reading is our thing today. Like, have you seen, and you've done so much of that in the Poteau area, right? So rural Oklahoma, you've seen it. Have you seen distinct differences of a way that reading is taught today versus, over the last couple of decades?
In our district, we had really taken a step away from phonics.
Okay.
And had really embraced just kind of that whole language approach to everything. And what we were discovering as kids progressed through our district is that those phonological skills were really missing. And so we have gone back in and added that across our district in the lower grades, rather, and are really seeing the rewards of that and placing more value and emphasis and teaching those skills with fidelity across our lower elementary classrooms is really having a positive impact as kids progress through the upper elementary and into middle school.
So when they get to your building, 5th grade, 6th grade, you're finding now a bit better grasp of phonological skills than maybe it was when those weren't being explicitly taught. Is that a fair way to say it?
And, just that fidelity piece where, at one time you could kind of tell which classes almost a student had gone through, because if they were a career teacher, then they were still using a lot of those things and saw the value in it. And so they're passing that along to their kids. Whereas maybe some of the newer teachers who didn't come in and have that as an expectation that was built into the curriculum, they just might not have those tools in their toolbox to use. And it's not that they were against it or withholding it. They just didn't have that. And so, their kiddos wouldn't have the benefit of that teaching experience. And really having good, solid curriculum and expectations being taught to fidelity so that we know that in kindergarten, all of our students are having access to these skills and this learning, and they're able to carry that into 1st grade. And in 1st grade, that fidelity is in place and that expectation is in place is such a benefit to our kids and really helps them develop those skills regardless of the classrooms that they're in.
Yeah, I love that. Once you can create uniformity across classrooms, that kind of
not to take away creativity. You always want teachers to have creativity and autonomy in a lot of the ways that things are taught. But I feel like, especially in those primary grades, those foundational skills are essential for all of our students.
Yeah, no, and we talked about that as we were prepping a little bit, but the idea that, valuable Tier 1 core curriculum instruction is so important to the long-term success of how it works and how literacy is developed. But let's talk a little bit about, you're in 5th and 6th grade. So you don't necessarily do the core foundational skills teaching in your building, but that doesn't mean that in 5th and 6th grade, you don't have students that still need or might have phonological gaps or let's call them barriers, current barriers to success. How do you How do you guys operate today in helping eliminate those phonological barriers or other just foundational skill barriers that might exist at the 5th and 6th grade level when you might have teachers that don't have training in initial foundation instruction?
We do have, we offer reading intervention,
Okay.
and that is for our students who are not served on an IEP.
Okay.
And so those are the students that we can see based on, observations, the work that they're doing, their assessments, that they're struggling in some areas. And so our reading interventionist is a certified elementary teacher who does have all of that, early childhood training and skill. And so our students are still receiving Tier 1 instruction in their 45-minute ELA block and their 45-minute reading block, but they also have a 45-minute reading intervention block that's built into their schedule. And that allows them to, our teacher to work with them individually and in small groups to fill those gaps. That's the goal. And so we do have built into our reading curriculum a component that is for reading intervention. But because we have a very skilled reading teacher, she is also able to pull from, decades of teaching experience and to be able to find things that work for individual students because she's working in a much smaller group.
Yep.
And she is identifying those, missing pieces and trying to kind of put those pieces of the puzzle back in there and then move on to, so what else do you need? What else can we do to help you? And that's a big part of that reading intervention piece for our students.
Yeah, I think many would call it a luxury to have a reading interventionist at a building like that with, you have 300 kids and an ability to kind of help those 5th and 6th grade teachers at such a
And we're able
level.
to do that in reading and in math.
Wow.
And then we also have an EL interventionist who works with our EL students. And, she is bilingual. And so she also is able to work with our newcomers and then our students who are just struggling with literacy skills, even though, they maybe have been here in Poteau throughout their school career, but there are still some elements that they're missing that she can really tune into and work with them to help to get them those grade level skills in place for them in literacy.
Right. Okay. Do you have a large English learner population?
Across the district, we have about 15% of our students who are English language learnhave And that is, something that is special to our district. We also have a very high percentage of students who qualify for free and reduced lunches.
Sure.
So, our poverty level is pretty high in our district. And we also serve about 25% of our students are served on an IEP. And so we have very specialized services across the district for those students as well. Yep. But all of those students are also served in our Tier 1 instruction.
Right.
And, where they are receiving instruction that is at grade level.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Love that. I have a commitment to that. How do you partner with the district relative to curriculum, whether it's Tier 1 decisions on and how that gets done, or whether it's intervention curriculum? How do you think about that? Is there some things we collaborate on, some things we have independence on, and the district supports that? Or walk us through what that looks like.
Well, the district pays for our curriculum, so fortunately, I'm independent of that. But as far as the decision,
receiving that gift, is
yes, I do not want to be a partner in that. Sorry about our summer bill is still going.
It happens.
A reminder that school's just around the corner.
Right.
But we do work with the district as far as scheduling opportunities for our representatives to get to go learn about, when during
Right.
adoption cycles, what's available. And so we do send representatives. We want our teachers, and we try to do that well in advance of the adoption time so
Yep.
that they have opportunities to really dig into curriculum options.
Okay.
And we have representatives come in and meet with our whole groups of teachers and kind of walk them through the different components of the curriculum, what's available, how it can be utilized. And we give them time to really kind of experiment with it. Anytime we can schedule demos so that they can, use those components as they would from a teacher standpoint or a student standpoint. Those are things that we want to be able to offer. Our district really gives us quite a bit of freedom and autonomy in the selection. Cost, of course, is always a factor.
Sure.
And some things are just, out of our range.
Out of reach.
But within cost and budgeting, we are able to make recommendations. Our district likes for us to be able to, across grade levels, like, pre-K through fifth grade, to be using a compatible curriculum.
Right.
So if we can agree on the same, so that it is a
Nothing wrong with that,
progression
right?
across grades, that's ideal.
Got it.
And so that is the only element that I would say our district has a preference on.
Is let's work together,
Yes.
on things together so that there's some continuity across that.
Yes.
Okay. What do you think is the most unique thing about having a fifth and sixth grade center all on its own, fifth and sixth grade? Is there any unique things or unique benefits that come from that you found?
I love the fact that we kind of get to be an island here. And we have been able to create, as we've started a new school here, we've kind of gotten to reinvent the middle school. And taking our fifth graders and then, keeping the sixth graders, and then seventh grade moved on to their brand new, nice facility. We got to create a new community, and that has been a really fun part of the work here. And getting to really decide, so what are the parts of our school culture that we're really going to focus on? We have really built a strong SEL program here. My doctoral work was in trauma responsive strategies. And so we've been able to build that into the support systems that we offer for our students. And this past school year, we were actually the Professional Oklahoma Educators School of Character. And that's something that has made us really proud. And really just looking at ways that we can support students, not just academically, but also from a standpoint of those social emotional needs, has really been a rewarding part of our work, and helping to educate teachers on, the brain-based side of trauma responses and how we can support students and really focus on the relationship building part of our work has been so rewarding.
No, that's great. I love hearing that. And strong SEL programs can be so important to that work. All right. Well, we've run out of time, so I'm going to wrap up with a final question with two parts.
Okay.
How's that sound? That's cheating, but I'll call it a final question on that. One is, I want to know, like, what do you most
So sorry.
Oh, good. What are you most nervous about for the future of education? You've been around a long time. You've seen it, and then after that, what are you most excited about for the future of education?
What I'm most nervous about is what funding looks like for our future. And particularly in Oklahoma, what leadership is going to look like moving
Sure.
forward is something that I feel like a lot of people feel some anxiety about. Being able to retain quality teachers, and Oklahoma is full of them. But, the leadership element has been very stressful in Oklahoma in the past few years, and wanting to remain competitive. As far as salaries for our teachers, so that we keep that talent in Oklahoma and in our classrooms where it's directly benefiting our kids, is something that is very worrisome and challenging. So that is my big concern.
Legitimate
There are lots
concern.
of
Yep.
different parts of that.
Sure.
The exciting part moving forward for me is just continuing the work and, keeping that momentum going within our school and our district and, our county and state. Because anytime I get to be part of conversations and training and conferences, I'm surrounded with amazing teachers and leaders who put so much of themselves into the work that they do, and continuing to get to be a part of that and see the growth for students that comes out of that is always the most exciting part for me, because I know that there are amazing and incredible things happening in classrooms across the state. And I just feel really blessed to get to be part of that.
Excited to be part of that. Well, it is exciting, and I do think that there are amazing things that are happening across the state. You are contributing to that, and we appreciate that very much. Thank you so much for joining the show today. I hope we get to talk again sometime soon.
All right. Thank you very much for having me today.
If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love to hear from you. Learn how we help students by identifying and removing phonological barriers at mindplay.com.